Hello, my fellow KW stakeholders. Of course, it's Aaron Kaufman, Chief Stakeholder Evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia, bringing you another installment of our My 401KW interview series where we dig deep with some of our top profit share earners and stakeholder-minded associates in our company. Today, we've got a real treat. We're talking to one of my favorite people in KW, the amazing Rochelle Burnett. How are you doing today, Rochelle?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. You're one of my favorite people in KW. I think we found you very early on when we switched over to KW, and you're one of the best storytellers of our story. And so I'm excited to be here today.
Well, we have a serious story to tell. I think we all can agree Keller Williams does some amazing things as a company. One thing I think we need to work better on is making sure that the people we're already in business with understand who we are, where we've come from. I know that Des Moines is a very special place. At least it has a very special place in my heart as far as KW is concerned. And I hope you share a little bit of what you guys have gone through there. But look, I know you have a very powerful profit share story to share. And before we jump into all of that, I just want to go back, Rochelle, and go back to when maybe even before you were in real estate. I'd love to know how you got into real estate, how you ended up coming to KW. Obviously, there were some challenges there for KW. But just start telling us your story, and then you and I will just do what we do and, go down the path of finding out more about how to get people excited about profit share in this company.
Well, I started my career at Iowa's largest real estate company. And because of conversations that may come, we have to not name that company.
Yeah.
I was in the graphic design and marketing department. So that was always my background, is graphic design and marketing. And it was there that I met my husband, Doug Burnett. Ended up meeting him there, a few years later, getting married. And so then when he went and opened up his own brokerage, which was called Burnett Realty at the time, again, I did graphic design and marketing for him.
Yeah.
Around the time we became a Keller Williams franchise, I decided to get licensed. So I was in my mid-30s and thinking of a major career change. And I honestly thought I would just get into real estate and help him sell and help him maybe run the brokerage or whatever. But I really just thought, I'll just sell some houses to my friends on the side. I had seen realtors go through the recession. And so then I thought, well, I need to always have two jobs, right? That would be really smart if I always had two jobs. And however, I really kind of fell in love with real estate, and it was at a family reunion. And I can't remember who said it on stage, but it was something about putting all of your eggs in one basket. And it was there at that family reunion that I decided to give up my graphic design and marketing career and solely do real estate. And then my real estate career shot up. And because of that, and also because we only became investors in a Keller Williams franchise and not like OP or team leader or sole owners in it, that gave Doug an opportunity to work less because he was older than I was. And I loved it so much. I wanted to do the work. So I just started selling real estate more than full time, probably.
Yeah. And I'm guessing who you were listening to at Family Reunion was probably either Jay Papasan or Gary Keller. It sounds like a one thing conversation. But look, I want to go back. Okay. So Doug was in the business previous to you, right? Meeting him. How long was he in the business for there, running his brokerage, or was he just a small brokerage there?
Yes. So again, he worked for one of Iowa's largest real estate companies, and he was a broker and a manager of an office. I think he got into real estate in his 20s.
Okay.
And then he saw a lot of success right away. And what you did back then was make people managers, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then he left them to open up his own brokerage. That lasted, I want to say around 13 or 14 years.
Okay.
The most he ever had was, I think, 50 or 60 realtors. And then he was getting older, and when you own a brokerage, you're the CEO, the CFO, the relationship manager, the recruiter, you're everything. And it was really wearing on him. And I think that's partly, again, why I got my license, because I was just like, you've got to do something. You got to do something different here. But from start to end, till he passed away, I think he'd been licensed for around 35 years.
Okay, so you guys had gotten married, met before you joined KW, correct? And then, all right, so you can speak a little bit, and we're not going to mention this company, but we would agree that, Des Moines is a more, more of a traditional market, more family based, right? More relationship based. I know when I joined KW and joined another brokerage, I heard a lot of things about KW. I think time has shown us that some of the experiences we had there in Des Moines, which, by the way, you would agree has made us stronger, obviously, as a company. But I'm just curious because I've talked to a lot of people in these interviews. A lot of people don't know, Rochelle, what it's like to be Keller who, okay, and to be trying to get anchored into a market where there's a large traditional local real estate company. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about, not so much about them, but what your impressions were of KW, how you ended up exploring KW, maybe some of the things you heard about KW in a general sense. And I'm just curious, because it was a big leap of faith in a market like Des Moines to go with a disruptive model that might have some ripple effects or collateral damage socially, in a market like Des Moines. So let's go back to that and talk about how that all kind of came into play with Keller Williams.
Yeah, again, Doug knew he had to make some sort of change. And when you're an independent brokerage, you get called by franchises all the time.
Yeah.
You're being hit really hard by Better Homes and Gardens at the time because Doug, we have a local connection to Better Homes and Gardens, and he has a family connection to Better Homes and Gardens.
Yeah.
They were hitting us hard, but he just couldn't see the value or the vision there. And he was getting called by Casey Bell out of Oklahoma. And it's kind of a funny story, but I won't repeat it. But, she was doing her thing. She was calling a lot, and we like to tease her about her cute Southern accent that we don't have here in Iowa. And, he would just like, no thanks, Casey. No thanks, hang up, click, hang up, And, but she caught him at a weak moment. And again, he knew he needed to make some sort of change. I was bothering him like, you need to make some sort of change. And so he's like, fine. I'll go to Franchise Orientation Systems in Austin, Texas, which, by the way, they don't even offer, as an independent, they don't even wine and dine you, right? This is just, you can come and hear about us if you want to.
And was there a relationship there between Doug and Casey, or was Casey just dialing local independent brokerages from Oklahoma?
She was. Yeah. I think she identified Iowa as, a potential place.
And she's in leadership. Okay, I'm not familiar with Casey Bell. I don't know if she's.
She was a team leader in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, and then became our operating principal.
Okay, so she was going to. She already knew where she was heading with leadership, and she was looking to get into business with some great local brokerages. So she's cold calling Doug. She finally gets Doug at a weak moment to go to Austin to FSO, right? So you guys go there, and what was that experience like?
Well, he went without me, and it was fine because, again, I didn't even know he would take it serious. But he called me within 24 hours, and he said, "We're becoming a Keller Williams franchise. This is everything that I built my own company on. I just didn't have the systems, tools, and the models to get it done." So Burnett Realty and the 30 agents we had at that time, we had that KW culture. We had a major culture that we lived and breathed, which was just like Keller Williams at Burnett Realty. So when he found out that Keller Williams also had this culture, he's like, well, that's great. That's everything I built my company on. But again, I don't have the systems, tools, and the models that they have. And he came home from FSO and said, we're becoming a Keller Williams franchise. So then he had to have 30 conversations with his realtors that we were going to become a franchise. And he really had to sell them on that because they knew Doug was anti-franchise. And, but for the first time, these realtors were in several years seeing Doug get excited about something. And they're like, Doug, if whatever you want, if we see the excitement in your eyes and you're so excited, we're going to stand behind you and beside you and all that.
Yeah.
But yes, you do hear the standard things, especially 12 years ago. I think you hear this less, but, a pyramid scheme, and it just, Keller Williams wasn't known in Iowa. So it just some people didn't know what it was at all.
Sure. But the head of that unnamed company knew who Keller Williams was. And I had a feeling they probably knew what was coming and the inevitable domination of KW, because we're, not because we're better than them as far as people, we just are a higher evolution of the real estate industry. So so you guys come to KW. Was profit share even a conversation and understanding? I mean, I'm sure it sounds like Doug was in line with KW's values. I think my guess is Doug was looking for a place that would take care of the people that he had relationships with in his brokerage, and knew that we were a training company. But was profit share even on the radar as something to even think about?
No, and honestly, that was maybe an extra, and that was kind of nice, at least for Doug. He knew these 30 people would end up in his downline, and Casey had explained to us that's financially going to mean something to you. And it is funny because people are like, "Oh my God, you sold out your brokerage to Keller Williams? You guys must be millionaires."
Yeah.
That's not Keller Williams didn't come and buy us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So when Doug became a Keller Williams franchise, he was actually walking away from
totally.
So those 30 people in his downline, he knew that probably meant something. We didn't know it to what magnitude, that it was literally just going to be like free money.
I'm just curious, by the way, also, how did you guys, were you even tactical about the way that you kind of stacked your brokerage? I mean, I would hope, did you guys stack yourself at all, or no, huh?
I named him, but what we should have done was the other direction.
Yeah. And I just want to make that point, because there's probably some husband and wife people listening today. And we always say, look, even if you think that they know, just tell them, because there are a handful of them not doing it. But look, one of the reasons we're the best real estate company for husband and wife teams, besides all the amazing things that we offer as a company, is husband and wives share a cap, but they also get to stack their profit share. And the smart ones are running their business through the spouse that is under the other one, so that they're earning profit share off of their own business while double dipping on their profit share tree as it grows. But we're not always having those conversations with husband and wife teams that join KW. And you are, I guess, a proof of that a little bit, that they did not talk to you that way. Which, look, you've overcome that, and you're an abundant person, Rochelle. You have a huge real estate team. I know you don't stay up at night thinking about that, but when you're intentional about profit share, it's amazing when you add that part to it, because it really makes it an unfair advantage as far as going after it. Yeah.
Right. We didn't stack it correctly. And yes, over time, I've come to be okay with that. And I also have my own downline.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty profitable all by myself. I think that's one thing I like to share is, yes, Doug got those 30 people instantly, right? But my downline, which has 55 people in it in the first line, I went out and got by myself. I did that all on my own. It has nothing to do with Doug being an owner. It just has to do with me having conversations and stories with people.
So Doug was your sponsor, right? Doug was your sponsor, correct?
Yep.
So we'll make up on that a little bit as we talk about, the legacy that Doug has been able to leave as well. But I think it's important to talk about, Rochelle. A lot of people reach out to me and they're like, look, I have an independent brokerage coming to KW. How should they stack their profit share? Or how should they set it up? And look, I'm not classically trained. I'm just telling them what I think. But, the way I look at it, just in case we have anybody here that's going to have those kind of conversations, look, they need to look at it, first of all, as husband and wife. If they're husband and wives, obviously they need to stack their profit share. But when you come to stacking your team, you don't always want 30 agents on your first level, right? You want your top talent to also be vested in profitability too, because my guess is they're going to stay longer with Keller Williams. They're going to be more excited about profit share because they're going to be earning profit share. So I would just tell people, stack your profit share tree based on the talent in your organization and how important it is for you to want to keep them and get them excited about profit share. You don't have to put them, in a straight line going down, but your top talent on your team should be on your first level. Then give them some people so that they feel like they have some ownership stake in profit share. You agree with that? Looking at it now?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We just didn't know.
You have a team, right? You have a team of all women that's doing amazing things there. But do you sometimes have a chance to sponsor some, Rochelle, and try to get them, into one of your top teams, downlines, associates? Yeah.
Yes. So I do a lot of new agent recruiting. I'm very passionate about new agents
Yeah.
and people getting into real estate. So I would say 95% of my downline was built on brand new agents.
Yeah.
And it's also who I like to attract to my team. I just like new and hungry
Yeah.
agents. So that's who I attracted to my team. So my team is pretty much in my downline, except for
Yeah.
my right hand gal, oh my gosh, Gabby, is not actually in my downline, and that's okay because she's talent, and I still want her on my team.
And you're really, your side, you have a lot of passions and charities, but I mean, it's obvious to me that empowering women is important to you. And, I know you're not exclusive to working with women or anything like that, but like I've always loved, you and I think that's, you and I back in the day, we did some coaching together because new agents were what I was doing. But man, do I love the young, new agents. And oftentimes you're talking to a single, sometimes like a single mother, right? Who wants to get into real estate. I love nothing more than just helping them think big and saying, hey, look, go listen to the Empire Builders podcast, right? And go listen to some of our amazing female agents like Wendy Papazon and Kimber Minkitty and Rochelle Burnett. There's just so many amazing women, and God bless her, Sarah Roca,
No.
but just there's so many women at KW just trailblazing, I mean, it's amazing, like yourself. So is that, you want to speak to that about why that's important to you?
I think that came on for me later in life, like when Doug was diagnosed with cancer. It's just, my friendships are females, pretty obvious there. My girlfriends, which many are realtors, and then my team, which just happened to be women anyways. That was my tribe, and those were people who came in and really helped take care of Doug and I, and just the power of women. And I think what we can get done when we put our mind to something. So I couldn't have gotten through, especially the year after my husband passed too, or the year where things got, where he was really sick and, we're calling in hospice. The women that surrounded me, my mother included, just amazing women. And the year 2021, when I really had to take off probably half the year to take care of Doug, I did not work half the year, but I didn't lose a dime. In fact, I made more money than I ever did the year I didn't work 6 months. I don't know what that's saying, but that is because of the women that were on my team that truly they're just, and 2021 was a fantastic year. Those poor women were just working so hard while I was at home. And so, I just think, it's my tribe. Not that I am anti-men. I would take a guy on my team at any time, but I do. I think just because I am a female, I was surrounded by more females when I went through what I went through. And so I'm just forever grateful, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great. And let me be clear, if the world was run by women, it would be a better place. I have no problem saying that. But I would also imagine, Rochelle, Gary says, great quote that I keep finding myself saying over and over again. I wish I didn't have to keep saying it, but the greatest shift of wealth and opportunity are in down cycles, not up cycles, right? And, I've used that as a mantra in the previous shift, in this present shift. But my guess is your team has never been stronger than it was after what you went through in 21 and how they stood up and had your back. And I'm sure that they accelerated their roles on your team and their knowledge and their experience, and everybody is stronger from it. Okay. Even though it was a very difficult time, would you say the culture of your team is never been stronger after that experience?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And Gabby on my team came out quite a leader while I was away. And so then I just made her a leader, and I kind of joke that she's my boss now. So
yeah. Well, let's talk about things that make you stronger. And without naming the name of the company that was behind the ridiculous policy that existed in Des Moines, Iowa. This was what, 7, 8, 9 years ago? I mean, you were just joining KW, right?
Correct.
Basically. And for those that don't know, I will do my best to not mention this real estate company's name, but I used to talk about this in my class, Rochelle, because for me, it's probably the top two or three most powerful cultural moment for me in KW. And I'm always just blown away when people, in our company don't know these stories, because this is what makes us stronger. And I don't ever wish a natural disaster or something like what happened in Des Moines, Iowa, to happen to people that are listening to us today. But when something like that happens, Rochelle, I think people start to understand how important it is to be a part of a company like KW. And I was in Fort Myers, Florida, teaching my class a couple of weeks ago. I think about KW Maui Associates. I think about, just all the places, Mega Relief, there, what we did in Houston. But Des Moines, Iowa, is, I think, a story that needs to continue to be told. And, I'm just going to quickly wrap it up for you. And I want you to talk about what your experience was and how that made your love for KW and your partnership with our company even stronger. So for those who don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, there was a large dependent traditional real estate company in Des Moines, Iowa. They had all of their, I'm assuming their agents were on the board there, but they had a policy. And the policy was, we're not going to pay a Keller Williams associate more than $1 on any of our listings that we sell. And people are like, oh my God, how did they get away with that? I don't know how they got away with it, but my guess is it started with all their agents being on the board. All right. But anyways, what makes this story amazing is that, look, there was a legal battle that ensued. But what we decided as a company is that we were going to create something called the Family Fund. And KW associates from all around Keller Williams had the opportunity to check a box on their green sheet when they turned in a check to donate a certain amount of money to our associates in Des Moines, Iowa, that were only paid $1. And I believe, if the story is correct, KW associates around this company raised over $2 million for our associates that were only paid $1. And every KW associate that got paid $1 in commissions received a full commission from Keller Williams, right? And that was all funded by Keller Williams associates. Now, I'm not sure what has happened with that company since then. I think it was bought by another large company, but that became sort of the anchor and the flag for KW in Des Moines, Iowa. So talk about what it was like to be a top agent in that moment and what it felt like to see how KW associates were contributing money out of their own commissions to you guys.
Well, gosh, we had no idea wow, did Keller Williams show up? We had no idea. The systems, the tools, the models, those are great.
Yeah.
We had no idea how strong that culture actually was.
Yeah.
Until this happened. And man, did Keller Williams show up. And that was just really an amazing experience to have all these people. And it wasn't just that Keller Williams was writing the check for our lost commissions. It was associates around the nation writing our checks. And it was just, this arm that went around us. And then the icing on the top was they took us all to family reunion, because Mo goes, well, how can we ask all these people to come to family reunion if they're not even making money on commissions yet?
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
So then she raised money to pay for 60 of us to get to family reunion. So we all go to family reunion, which is really rare that your entire market
sure
to go to family reunion. And so it was then at the inspirational breakfast that Mo announced that they were going to pay us back, and they were going to pay us back by the associates around the nation doing it. And right there in that room, she raised $150,000. And that was back before you even used credit cards or Venmo. That was like putting cash and check envelopes, which people showed up to the inspiration breakfast not knowing. And I think it averaged $100 a person in the room. Like, how did you even have $100 on you? And then they sang Stand By Me by an acapella group, sang Stand By Me, Aaron. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Every time.
And yes, it was just this larger than life experience to have Keller Williams take care of us in that way. And it really set the stage, not just for us in Des Moines and how great Keller Williams, but it really set the stage in our nation and among real estate companies not to do this.
Yeah.
Don't mess with us and don't do this again, because we're going to come in and save the day every time.
Well, what was it like, Rochelle? I mean, because, that's an intimidation approach, right? Hey, if you're going to be in business with KW, it's not going to be fun for you, right? I mean, that's them saying, and I always screw it up. It's that Gandhi quote: first they attack you, then they make fun of you, or something like that, and then you win. But I mean, obviously, their approach was they knew what was coming for their traditional dependent, old school model that was not going to be able to be competitive with KW. And so they tried to probably say stuff about KW. Then they actually enacted. What were they saying locally? Like, what was, as an agent, what were you thinking when this other large company, that, by the way, had a large percentage of the listings in Des Moines, when they came out with this policy? What were your thoughts? Like, did you think, oh my God, how are we going to survive as agents in this market? I mean, what were your thoughts?
Well, being more on the leadership side of things, yes, the idea was that we wouldn't be able to recruit. They had about 40 to 45% market share. So that meant on 40 to 45% of your listings that you sell, if you come work for us, you're not going to make any money.
Right.
So we thought, who would want to come work for us? Plus, there was just some media attention, and the public was honestly confused on it all anyways. Some people even thought we were the bad guys, just because the public doesn't understand all of this.
And how were they justifying that, Rochelle? What was the reasoning as what they were projecting for doing this? Did they think KW was not, we're not living up to the standards of being real estate? Was it something about the model? Did they verbalize why they decided to pass this policy, or no?
There was no good reason why. They just I think it was just one person there just wanted to just really stick it to us. Yeah. And so that was the hope. Were they starting some rumors about us? Yes, on how we recruit, or that it's a pyramid scheme, or you have to do this and that if you go work for Keller Williams. So sure, but I think for the most part, it was just the one person there that wanted to see this through, and he really wanted to. And because I know some of his managers and his people, his agents that worked for them, they didn't want this. Yeah. And and that's why we even recruited some of their agents, because their agents knew this was wrong. Everyone knew this was wrong. And so because of that, we actually were able to recruit. By the way, this company is smaller today. And so we were able to recruit, and it was such a great story to tell. I mean, you were even going around the nation and talking about the story, and it's such a powerful story. We could tell the story too. And when you tell that story, it's so powerful. We could use it to recruit. Yeah. It was not to our detriment, really, that they did it. It was to our advantage.
Right. But my guess is you guys are not telling that story enough locally still to this day, right? Because, KW Des Moines has gone through some ups and downs. And I know that once we did that and we did the family fund, Des Moines took off, but there has been there's been a little bit of a bell curve happening. And, my feeling is maybe you should make sure you guys are telling that story more to the people you're in business with today, because there's a great saying. I say it literally every time on this interview series. We're in the third generation of Keller Williams, right? I mean, Rochelle, this you're very purposeful about profit share, obviously, like me. We know this is not about our next check, right? And for you, it is truly a legacy. Yeah. So we should want to protect that. So my question is, if we don't, tell these stories more, and I'm not just talking about Des Moines, I'm talking about everywhere. I mean, there are people that left Keller Williams in Houston, Texas after I flew there and demucked their homes, during that hurricane. I mean, there are people that have left Fort Myers and gone to other companies after the hurricane. My point is, that's okay. But I think where are we going to be in 20, 40, 60 years when there is, Gary Keller's not leading our company, and we're not telling these kind of stories because I think that's what makes us so purposeful, right? I mean, is that we've been through this. We know what it's like to be at another company. We know what it's like to be Keller who, and to have a chip on our shoulder and have people be telling our story for us and trying to, create rules that are going to keep us from growing, So I just don't want us to lose that, because I want to protect the legacy that we've built for 20, 40, 60, 100 years, right? That's important to you as well, right?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I think we've forgotten to tell our story, and time passes, and we have a new set of realtors in the market. And yeah, I think we've forgotten to tell our story, or maybe we need a new one. I do believe
I like that.
We paved the way actually for more competition in our market center now, because before there was no such thing as competition in Des Moines.
Right. That's a great point.
And so because of what we did, we paved the way for more competition to come in and now play. And that's what's made it harder to recruit, is we allowed more competition to come in, and that's a good thing.
We've created our competition, right? A lot of these quote unquote copycat companies that are aggressively now recruiting our stakeholders are people that came from Keller Williams. And I think what people need to know, my message around that is, look, Gary Keller is not only the Steve Jobs of the real estate industry, he's the most abundant thinking person in our industry. And you can't tell agents to think big, okay? And then say, whoa, you're thinking too big now, right? I mean, look at Ben Kinney, look at, Tim Heil, look at Adam Hergenrother, right? The bottom line is you can't have it both ways. And if other people think that from what we teach them, they can go do something that's a better fit for them, then God bless you. But the bottom line is Gary Keller, which is a quote that I've been saying a lot of my classes these days. He said, look, we're not even the company you're trying to emulate anymore. We got a 40-year head start on all of you, and it pays to be first. Okay. It pays to be the first abundantly thinking, interdependent real estate company that treats its agents like stakeholders. I mean, good luck replicating 40 years of culture, 40 years of systems, models, and tech. I mean, we're not even the company you're trying to emulate anymore. So as long as we continue as long as our culture keeps up with our growth, okay, I think our profit share legacies will be pretty solidified. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
All right, so let's go ahead, please.
We need to tell the profit share story more too, not just the culture and the amazing things about our technology and education, but you stop acting like profit share is a secret. It is a big deal, and you will protect the market center's bottom line in dollars a lot more when you have more people participating in profit. We're just not telling that profit share story enough.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like a greedy person, but I'm just taking ownership of this real estate company I got a huge financial stake in. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have agents in my downline in Des Moines, Iowa, okay? That means I'm vested financially in the success of everybody in KW Des Moines. So when I donated money to KW Des Moines, I don't think at that time I had people in my downline, but that's the mindset that we need to start spreading, is that you might not have somebody in your downline today in Maui, okay, or Fort Myers or Des Moines, Iowa, but someday you might. Or they might be sending people to a market center that you have people in your downline and they're growing it. We're all vested in a common goal. That's what makes our culture different. But if 80% of our people don't get that at a high level, it's hard to deliver on that. So, all right, so let's get back into profit share. So you come to KW with your husband, okay? You have to deal with this mess from this other company, but you guys are embracing our systems, our models. When did the light bulb go off for you, Rochelle, about being intentional about recruiting? What was that moment for you where you said, look, this is an opportunity I need to take more advantage of?
Well, I like to do it anyways. I think like you, I just like to talk about it. So it came a bit naturally, but I do remember my first profit share check. So it's as a new brokerage, you don't have profit right away. So I do think it was maybe 3 or 4 months later, which is still pretty good. Again, we were a new brokerage getting off the ground. And I remember Doug saying, don't get overly excited. But I knew I had when I got licensed, I had a few friends get licensed at the same time. So they entered my downline right away. So Doug's 30 went in his downline, but my downline was at 0. But I had a few friends, had a few recruits. And it's like Doug said, don't get excited about your big check because we're still getting up and running. We don't have a ton of profit yet. And, we just hadn't seen this. We didn't know how it worked. Yeah. And I was like, man, if I get $50, I'm going to be excited. I'll be excited if it's $50.
Yeah.
And Doug was even like, it's probably not going to be $50. So I'm get excited. And it was $350.
Wow.
So this is my first profit share check being $350 when we'd only been open for like 3 months. That's when I knew that this was real. It was the real deal. This isn't something they just talk about. So I think after that, I made it more intentional, but like you, it's just easy for me to just, I love this career. I love what this career can do for you. And I could share that Keller Williams story really well too. And so recruiting just came naturally to me. But I did make it more of an effort. If I was at an open house, and you always have people at open houses going, "Oh, I think selling real estate would be so fun."
Yep.
I didn't just say, "Oh, well, it can be fun." I would actually ask that person to go out to coffee and talk about it.
Yeah.
So if anybody ever said to me that they think selling real estate would be fun, or they thought about becoming a realtor, I never dismiss it. I just get them to coffee.
I mean, I can't tell you how many Uber drivers and taxi drivers I've gotten into K-Score. Now, it's a
Yeah.
numbers game there. You got to be patient with them. But a couple of them have made it through K-Score, and I've sponsored the KW. But the point is, and I know you're like this as well, Rochelle. It's not just like this with Keller Williams. It's like this with real estate. I mean, you love helping people, right? You are people in Des Moines would be lucky to work with the Burnett home team, right? I mean, you guys are high level real estate agents. And so when you feel the same way about Keller Williams, right, you're compelled to want to talk to people about it because you can help them. And we always say, don't be a secret agent, well, don't be a secret attractor to KW. I mean, there is nothing worse in this company than finding out somebody you had a relationship with has joined KW and put somebody else down as their sponsor. Okay.
Yep.
Right. I mean, and I love new agents because, Rochelle, they're sponges, right? They say thank you, right? I'm a teacher when it's all said and done. I love to share and teach. I don't like to recruit so much. I want people coming to me or at least are people that are open to receiving what I want to share with them. But what was your source? So you open houses. Did you dabble in some internet recruiting for a period of time there as well?
Yeah, and that was because I was the productivity coach. And so I will say at that time, and as the productivity coach, I wasn't trying to recruit people to my downline. In fact, what really worked for me was I had career nights every Tuesday at 5:30. Every Tuesday at 5:30. So I got the agents trained in my office to send people career nights at Tuesday at 5:30 because they knew it was Tuesday at 5:30. They would say,
I love that. Consistent.
It's Tuesday at 5:30. It's always Tuesday at 5:30. And I got that in their heads to the point they were sending people to me, not to enter my downline. I really protected their downlines. But as the productivity coach, I was supposed to recruit. And
of course. And
I'm a high D. So if you tell me I have to recruit 5 people to the market center this month, I'll do it. Now they weren't in my downline. I really wanted to help other agents in my office recruit to their downline because that was kind of like me being team leader. It was kind of my job to recruit. So I needed you to want to increase your downline. So consistently having a career night every single week at the same time. So I trained the agents to know that. The other thing is, and I don't know if it's still working today, but Indeed worked really, really well.
Yeah.
Indeed worked really well. So that's what I did as productivity coach. But me personally in my downline, it was a lot of just social media saying, you all know I love my career. You can tell I love my career. If you ever want to talk about it, let me know.
I love that.
So I think just being intentional that you're willing to have those conversations and share this career with your friends. I would say a lot of my downline is my friends or past. It's funny because I've recruited a lot of my past clients.
Yep.
So I always in fact, one gal on my team, I sold her a house a couple of years ago. And so yeah, it's kind of a joke that I've lost some business because I have recruited my own clients to be realtors.
Do you ask intentionally, or is that just a case by case basis?
Oh, intentionally.
Yeah.
So the gal on my team that I sold a house to a couple of years ago, she was doing new construction, and she was so good at her own new construction deal that I felt inadequate as a realtor because I didn't have to do much. She had everything down. She did her research. She's good at taking notes. She was good at talking to people. So yeah, my first thought is I think you need to become a realtor because you really just nailed this transaction.
Well, we always say this. So there's always, I guarantee you there's somebody in your real estate data bank right now that's considering switching careers or even honing in on a real estate career. I mean, I think especially after the pandemic, Rochelle, a lot of people saw how amazing it was. I mean, it was challenging in 21, right? And obviously for you, even more so. But, people were watching real estate agents selling houses and having a huge year when they were trapped in their own house, or they were forced to, fit into whatever box their company forced them to get into. And I think we're seeing personally, I think the best talent that we've ever seen coming into real estate after the pandemic when it comes to new talent. Are you seeing that yourself as well?
Well, yes, but I'm excited about more of the new talent to come forward, because the
Yeah.
talent that we've got in the last 2 to 3 years had a really easy career.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Real estate pretty easy, and
Yeah.
finding clients pretty easy. Now you have to think a little bit harder and work a little bit
Yeah.
harder. Those are going to be the better realtors for sure.
Well, it's going to be, and there will be a thinning of the herd, right? Which is what I think top agents or people that are committed to being top agents probably want in some ways, is that there are a lot of people just sticking signs in yards, okay, and not committed to the customer experience. But look, I mean, there's a reason lawsuits are popping up. People don't have a huge, they don't look at real estate agents, oftentimes in a great way. So if there is a thinning of the herd, we can raise the bar for what it means to be a real estate agent, and new agents that survive a shifting market or a tough market will thrive for years to come. And are you guys doing any kind of team ridge stuff there in your office? Is there anything happening there because one of the things I say to people is, and you could probably attest to this, Rochelle, I lost a lot of agents I sponsored to KW, right? They dropped out of the business, right? Because back then in 05, 06, 07, 08, we didn't have a lot of real estate teams. We weren't offering dependent opportunities like Team Ridge. And so a lot of my new agents, even though they might have said, hey, I want to generate my own business, a lot of them ended up not doing the work or didn't even want to generate their own business, and they left KW. I think people need to understand KW is now offering more dependent opportunities than we've ever offered through teams and Team Ridge. And I think that's why now's the best time to go after new agents, is that the quality's better, but the opportunities at KW are so much better to survive a shifting market. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we see a lot of teams. I think that's the other thing that we brought to the market. We brought to the market more competition because we went after the big bully, and then I think we brought the team model to the area too. So awesome. we are seeing teams at every brokerage and everywhere, and that's fine. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's great. So now, when you gave me that number of $615,000 in profit share, is that your profit share, or is that yours and Doug's profit share?
No, that was both of ours combined. Mine is at 203 as a lifetime.
Yep.
So his was just over 400.
Okay. So let's talk about, if it's okay with you. I mean, obviously,
I brought it up. Yep.
You brought it up. So let's go back to 21. Okay. As far as, Doug passed away in 21. You spent half the year, having the privilege to be there with him for that time, right? While your team stepped up. Okay. But I think a lot of people, I'm curious to hear about how Doug, created a trust for the kids, and talk about that. Cause I'm curious. I know a lot of people are curious about that aspect of your story and how that's playing out.
Yeah, we had always heard that you could will your profit share to a trust, because we had heard, and I haven't kept track of many changes, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you could only will your profit share once, Yeah.
I've heard twice, but I once again, I haven't confirmed that either, but I think it's twice. But knowing that there was an end to that,
there could be an end to it. But I had always heard if you set it up with a trust, then there is
the same thing. But I haven't talked to anybody that successfully did that, which is why I'm excited that you're willing to share that part of your story. So
yeah, and we had the privilege, I guess, if you call it a privilege, to be able to prepare a little bit. Doug was diagnosed in 2019 with a terminal diagnosis.
Yeah,
and so he did have that opportunity to bring his will and estate up to date and have these profit share conversations, because it was a considerable amount of money. I mean, he would average 50 to 60,000 a year in profit share for a while. So that's a significant amount of money to think about when you pass on. So again, we had that ability to think about these things, and I want people to think about them when deaths happen unplanned. Okay, so Doug's death unfortunately was planned due to cancer. What happens when it's a bit more sudden? which has recently happened among Keller Williams as well.
Yes, of course.
So we had a great MCA. She's not with us now, but we have another great MCA too. And so the MCA should understand these things and be helpful. Now, our MCA did have to do some research, but there is a beneficiary designation form that talks about where your profit share goes when you die.
Yep.
And what we did was we willed it to a trust. It's called, I don't know, the Burnett Kids Profit Share Trust, let's say. So that was something we had to work out with our attorney. So with your estate attorney, you want to designate a trust and you give it a name.
Yep.
And then that is now your designation, beneficiary designation. Again, it's not just who gets your profit share right now, it's who gets your profit share upon your death. And there's a form for that. Because while Doug was alive, it was obviously going to his bank account.
Yep.
And so upon his death, then that form goes into play. And the attorney does what he does with the trust. Like they have to go to the IRS and get like an EIN number, a tax identification number to go along with that trust. Once you have that EIN number, that tax ID number and your trust document, you go to the bank and you set up a bank account, and you'll need to get a voided check from that bank account. So with that beneficiary designation form, a voided check, a copy of his death certificate, things like that. Then I worked with my MCA who worked with KWRI, and it went swimmingly well. The whole transition went according to plan.
And let me ask you a question, Rochelle. So you had to, in order to complete this, you had to have a death certificate. So, right, is that correct? So, I mean, it sounds like you could not have set the trust up as a benefit. Would Doug still alive as this trust was being set up as his actual beneficiary within the KW? I'm just curious.
I suppose it could, but he wanted the money. He was spending it.
No, I'm sure that's what Doug did. And then maybe you, in order to then, I guess maybe take the final step, would be to have the death certificate to set up the bank account. But maybe Doug set it up. I don't know. I'm just people. That's the logistic part I'm curious about. Is that was Doug able to actually change his beneficiary while he was alive to the trust, or did he have to set the trust up? You guys have to complete the trust with his death certificate, then go back and fill out the beneficiary form.
So the attorney just had to make up a trust name.
Yeah.
A trust doesn't really get set up until the death.
Okay.
There are people that have trusts right now.
Yeah.
The way Doug's estate was written, that the trusts do not come into play until his death.
Right.
And so
Doug must have added that first to changed his beneficiary form first.
Because I was the beneficiary, and so you actually do have to sign a form when you're taking your spouse off. And naming someone else. So we had both had to sign paperwork that we were okay taking each other off, because I was the beneficiary.
Right.
So I had to sign off on the fact that I was not going to be beneficiary anymore. And he named his trust as the beneficiary. And that's it. So then the rest of the things that came into motion were post-death. And because you're doing a trust, that does mean you have to have a trustee. Does mean you have to have a bank account. It does mean you have to do a tax return every year.
And instructions, right, to pay the vesting fee every year on the first of the year, and I would imagine how to distribute the money in case of kids potentially passing away, their kids, right? It goes. I mean, because that's the idea of a trust, right? Which is you will it once. And then you control that profit share from within the trust. And I can imagine, I mean, you have the rights to amend that at all. You're yourself as the widow, as a trustee, you get to potentially amend it if terms change or whatever, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Or if I pass away, there has to be a new trustee. So yes, the estate attorney is who helped us write all that. So and Doug has 2 kids, but it's one bank account. So again, I have checks. And I get to, it's a privilege to write checks to his kids every once in a while, because they were his kids, not mine.
Yeah.
Oh, I consider them mine. And so yes, that's what the estate attorney is there to do. And our MCA and KWRI just did a great job of making sure everything went the direction it was supposed to.
Now, if I could ask a personal question,
Mhm.
did Doug have kids prior to you? I know he's older. He was older than you. Did he have kids prior to you guys getting married?
So
Or
that's yes. So
yeah,
those were his two kids, and since
right.
I married a little bit older than myself, I'm closer to age than his kids.
Yeah,
So that is where the fact that we didn't stack kind of worked out because he decided he wanted his kids to get that portion.
yeah, yeah.
That's what he wanted his kids to have.
Makes
And
sense.
so because we were not stacked, that allowed us to have a trust set up where I get to just divvy that money out to his kids.
That's great. That's great. So what does that mean to you? What did that mean to Doug? To be able to, you know, sit there knowing that, hey, we've got, 40, 50, 60K a year, potentially even more, obviously where things are down a little bit right now because of the market, but to know that, hey, I'm leaving, and I'm sure Doug has, had left other things to his kids, but to know that, hey, here's this thing that's going to send my kids, and how his kids are in their 30s, their
40,
40s.
40,
Yeah. So that
30,
this is
39.
probably going to help them with their kids, right? But
Yeah.
Did Doug express what that meant to him, to be able to do that?
Yeah, and I just saw my stepson, who I'm very close to, at Thanksgiving, and I got to write him a check for $4,000. That was his
Yeah,
portion.
that's amazing.
And that's really fun to be able to be like, here's $4,000 from your dad.
Right.
And then as I continue to grow my downline, they're still benefiting.
Yeah.
Because I'm still alive and I'm in that downline.
Yeah.
So they get to benefit from me going out and recruiting as well.
That's a great point. That must be a good feeling to know that they benefit every time. Every time you get a profit share check, a little bit of that's going to back, through Doug and his honor to his kids. That's just such an amazing story as far as, and that's going to ripple for years and years and decades and decades. And I think that's what I want people to understand is that that's why I do what I do, right? Like, this is not about my next check. This is about 100 years from now. I want to build an animal sanctuary. I want it to be funded by my profit share for the next 100 years. I want KW associates that get into business with us after I'm long and gone that carry the torch, because there's so many people that have come before us and they're still to this day benefiting from the sales that we have today. And they're long gone, and their kids and their grandkids are benefiting from it. So Rochelle, let's kind of like head this back towards strategy now. So look, you're here, we're in this shifting market, right? Our industry is under siege from tech disruptors, from lawsuits. I don't know if you feel even more proud to be a KW associate after what Gary Keller is doing and how he shows up every day to be the agent advocate in our industry. But I just kind of feel like KW is about to have a moment. I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like we're about to have a real moment. And, the last 5 or 6 years, we've been kind of building our tech, which has been a rough journey for us. But I mean, look, that's the great thing about building tech is that it takes time. It takes, you don't get to see the benefits of it until it's evolving. But I feel like command is getting a lot better, right? We're starting to, I think it's moments like these that KW gets to show our true colors. And I think agents are paying attention to what Gary's doing and what we're doing. And now that the tech is starting to really gain some traction, I feel like we're about to have our moment, especially in a shifting market. So what are your feelings and where do you draw confidence as a stakeholder that's purposeful about profit share? How do you lean into this moment when others are just trying to get by and survive? How do you lean into a moment like this to really go after what you and I both know will be a real unfair share of profit share because everybody else is just trying to survive while people like you and me are continuing to be persistent and consistent with our profit share building? What does that mean to you? What does this moment mean to you right now?
Yeah, I'm okay with the thinning of the herd. I think that needed to happen. And I also teach for our state association pre-licensing because I love it so much. I teach pre-licensing.
I love that.
And the thing I tell them is, yes, what kind of market do you really want to start in? Did you want to start in a market where it was the phone just rang and you just sat here and business came to you? Or do you want to start in a market where you have to learn really good habits and learn how to go out and get the business? I also talk about in pre-licensing, in any economy, people are still getting married, they're still getting divorced, they're still having babies are still going off to college, changing jobs, relocation, whatever. I just say people are always going to move. You just have to be in more relationships.
Exactly.
And so this is really just a relationship game, and it has nothing to do with the economy. So
Yeah.
I am excited about the people that we could be getting into the market right now. And I really like what you say, that we're about ready to have a moment. And I think that gets me excited. Like, let's sit down and talk about what we think this moment is going to be and how are we going to capitalize on that. It's fun to think about. I think the market needed to change a little bit. I even tell new agents, yes, I made a lot of money the last 3 years. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
When you get home and you put on your yoga pants and then a house comes on the market and you have to run to it and you're showing a house with 10 other agents in it, like, how do you even, and then things got awkward with buyers. You were writing 5 offers for them and having to call and say you didn't get the house. It became awkward.
Yeah.
And so I think a change needed to happen, and let's just all embrace it.
Well, and I think the long game here obviously is the tech conversation. They say, hey, you're not going to be replaced by technology. You'll just be replaced by an agent that's actually leveraging technology at a high level. And I think that kind of sums it up, and I get it. It's always going to come down to local real estate agents with in their relationships and all that stuff. But the industry is starting to shave off 5%, 10% here, with Zillow and Open Door. And I think, a lot of these agents that don't understand that their clients are not just going to be loyal to them, right? They're going to be loyal to the consumer experience and the price offer. And when people sort of poo-poo KW, right, because there's all these new flashy objects that are touting their agent models, right? And look, agent models are great, but unfortunately, we're not playing the agent game anymore. We're playing the consumer game, right? The fourth industrial revolution is about the consumer. And I know that you can make a ton of money over there in rev share, but if you can't provide consumers with a similar digital experience as Zillow and a similar price offer, you're not going to be competitive in the future. And I think that's what gets me excited, is that, KW is playing what we call the infinite game. Okay. And even though there are some new flashy objects, I have no doubt that we're the only company fighting for the future of the true real estate professional in an industry that's trying to turn them into a low-paid door opener. And we're led by the greatest mind the industry who has ever seen, who, by the way, is not driven by making another $1 billion. No, he actually is driven by wanting to save you and all agents, not just KW agents, all agents from an industry that's now trying to basically eliminate them. And so, in a moment when there's one company that's driven by purpose and community, okay, that's what makes me feel so excited about the moment, Rochelle. And, for people like you and me that are so invested in the future profitability of KW, right? Like that's what gets me excited, because this is the long game. It always will be. And there'll be moments when there's ups and downs, and there'll be a new flashy object here and there, or you and I'll lose people we've brought to KW. I don't know. I just get a little bit of confidence knowing that our true north is set. And as long as we stick with that, we're going to be just fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of confidence in Gary Keller, and that he truly, truly cares about the agents and where this business is headed. And he is a visionary, and he cares about tech, and just so much confidence in our leadership there that I don't lose a lot of sleep over it.
No, I don't either. I used to. But now that I see, now that we're, have kind of recalibrated the profit sharing system, right? And we've passed a couple policies that I think initially maybe I didn't have all the information on, but now I fully see why we've done everything we've done, and have no doubt that all those decisions will, in the long term, really protect what you and I are building here. So look, you got somebody on this call. Let's just say they're a year in the business at KW. I know you love new agents. What do you tell people that are new to the business that want to get purposeful about building their profit share? What do you tell these people that might have those conversations with you?
Well, you do have to talk about it. Get on social media and just say, I started this career and I'm so excited. about it and I'm loving it. Let me know if you guys ever want to talk about it. So you just really have to be purposeful. And I think that's where you see people make money in profit share or don't make money in profit share. I make it purposeful. I don't make it purposeful. And there's people who just don't want it. They just don't want to recruit. They don't want to have the conversations, and that's fine. And they're at Keller Williams and they're doing their thing, and that's fine. But the money is real, and you just have to be purposeful. Write a GPS 135 around it, but just make it a part of your everyday conversation.
And what do you tell a new agent that says, hey, well, I haven't, I have only sold a house or two. I don't feel very confident in myself as an agent. I don't really feel comfortable trying to recruit. What kind of thoughts do you have for that?
You don't have to. Now, I like those conversations, but I also tell any new agent when they come to me and say that, Aaron, they're like, I have a friend who wants to get in the business, but I don't know what to say. And I'm like, I'll go to coffee with you.
Yeah.
That's the culture of our office. And so find someone in your office who is like a Rochelle Burnett or an Aaron Kaufman and take them along for that conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. That is our culture. Grab your team leader, your productivity coach, whomever it may be, and let them have the conversation for you. But definitely be the person that initiates it.
Totally. And look, remember, you don't have to be a Rochelle Burnett to know how Rochelle Burnett does business, right? There's this little book called the MREA book. I would think that you are reading that book if you're a new agent at KW. So look, that's the great thing about being a new agent, especially if you're speaking to somebody else that's thinking about being a real estate agent, is you got a story to tell, right? You made it through real estate school. You have started your real estate career. You've chosen KW. Hopefully you take advantage of the things that we have to offer, and you come into the office and you seek out knowledge and you read the MREA book. But you're right, Rochelle, it's not their job to recruit. It's their job to excite and refer. And until you feel comfortable having a higher level conversation with someone about KW, if all you ever do is saying, look, I love this company. Okay. It's changing my life. Would you mind if would you mind if I had my team leader contact you? That's all you did. You would have some success, right? And then once you get that first profit share check and your sort of light bulb goes off, then you can really commit to mastery and focus on being more consistent with your lead gen. But that's why I love internet recruiting. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. I could run a job ad. I got 50 people that want to talk to me by the end of the day about KW. And it's not that hard to write a pretty cool job ad for the #1 real estate company in the world, which, by the way, is the #1 training company. It's the best place for women. It's the best place for veterans. It's the best place for college grads. I mean, guys, it's not that hard to get people to apply to KW. The question is, do you have the time and the systems to manage it and to represent Keller Williams at a high level? Because if you cannot respond to people quickly and you cannot have an educated conversation about KW, don't go out and start running job ads for KW, because you're going to make us look bad. All right. All right. So Rochelle, thank you so much. Look, we're an hour in. I can't thank you enough. I know how busy you are. If somebody has a referral or needs to get in touch with you in Des Moines, Iowa, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So the website is burnettteam.com. That would be BURNETT. And then another T for team, TEAM. So burnettteam.com, or my cell phone is 515-473-5696. Thank you. This is fun. I was so excited to hear from you.
You did an amazing job. Am I going to see you in Vegas soon for our family reunion?
Yes.
All right. Well, Rochelle, thank you so much. I'll send you a link to this. Everybody on this call is great comments in the comment box. We'll put it on YouTube. We'll get more people to watch it. But if all we do today is inspire one person, you and I both know this was a total win. So thanks again, Rochelle, for everything. All right.
Thank you. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.